Longlegs is a 2024 crime horror thriller. Written and directed by Osgood Perkins, it stars Micah Monroe, Blair Underwood, and Nicolas Cage. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree.
I saw a beast rise up out of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns.
So I went and saw Longlegs last night, and I would have shot a review right afterwards because I was really excited to talk about this movie, but it was actually pretty damn late, and I realized, okay, I'm pretty tired, so I'll just shoot it in the morning. What I didn't expect is the conversation today to not be so much about the movie itself, which is good because at least it's not spoiling anything, right? But to not be about the movie itself, but more about people's expectations and the hype train and things along those lines. Because I've seen a number of people, I haven't watched anyone else's review yet. I've only read things on Twitter, like little, brief whatever. And I've seen titles of reviews because I try not to watch anyone else's actual review because I don't want it to skew my own. Although it wouldn't really matter, to be honest, at this point, because my opinion is pretty locked in on what I felt about this movie, just like I am about most movies. But either way, I still just don't. I want to get my thoughts out on camera and all that, and then I'll see maybe what other people had to say. But just from the titles and things that I have picked up on, everybody is just like, the hype train ruined this for me. I went in expecting this to be the best movie and blah, 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 and I was disappointed. Or the opposite end, people that are feeding the hype train saying this is the greatest horror movie ever, and whatever, that's hyperbole. They're not saying that exactly, but you know what I mean. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sure what the title of this video is going to be yet. It could be a little bit hyperbolic too, because unfortunately that's what you got to do in this YouTube world. Just writing it's a review of this movie just doesn't always work, especially for fairly smaller channels that don't have a huge audience, It is still a frustrating feeling for me because I wish people were talking about this movie. And here I am spending a couple minutes starting out this review talking about anything but the actual movie. But real quick though, before I get into this, I just wanted to simply say, don't listen to the hype. Don't go into this hearing either that it's not as good as, and so you're expecting it to be not that good or any of that. Just go into this and watch it and try to enjoy it for what it is. Because Longlegs is not like anything you're expecting. For one, it does have a lot of elements. It is very much inspired by movies like Seven. I felt a real big influence from Seven. I've heard a lot of people talk about that it was Silence of the Lambs inspired, and I feel some of that, but actually felt more of a Seven vibe because it's much more dark and has that gritty look and style a lot more than Silence of the Lambs does. And there are a few other horror movies I'm sure that you'll see influences and inspirations in and whatnot, but at its core, this is a very unique movie. It is weird. It is uncomfortable. It is strange. The dialogue and the characters are very stilted and have this real, almost on the spectrum way of performing their lines. And it's hard to follow exactly why that is, what exactly the purpose behind that is. But a lot of it is, for one, it's a stylistic thing from Osgood Perkins. And it gives this movie this very creepy, very unnerving, uncomfortable feeling. And you're gonna hear some people say this is the scariest movie they've ever seen or whatever. Each person is gonna have their own opinions on that. I can only tell you what I thought and what I felt. And I absolutely adored this movie. I mean, I love this movie. There's a good chance it's gonna be my #1 movie of the year. That's how much I enjoyed this. But I'm telling you, it's gonna be too weird for a lot of people. It's gonna be too dark and weirdly shot. Especially it's gonna be too artistic for a lot of people. It's gonna be way too slow for a lot of people because this movie is really a slow burn and methodically moves forward, which I thought really adds to the dread and makes it just feel like a cloud, like this dark cloud around you this entire movie. that you're just feeling, I mean, for lack of a better word, just uncomfortable. And that's from every performer in this. They just add to this weirdness, this distorted reality feeling of it. Also, if you go into this expecting a Silence of the Lambs or a Seven, I could see you coming out not maybe enjoying it as much as you might have if you didn't know that there is a supernatural kind of angle to this. I'm not going to say if it's real or not, but there is this supernatural kind of thing in the air, kind of the elephant in the room in this in a lot of ways. And so even though it does have a gritty crime thriller vibe, there is this horror, very horror angle to it. And I mean, this movie is evil, dude. Like, to its core, this movie feels very evil to me. And I'm not even someone, like, to not get too into my religious beliefs or whatever, I'm not a big believer in a lot of, really the way most people believe in religion and this and that and God and the devil and things like that. That's just not my jam. I'm not going to get into exactly what I believe or feel. I am spiritual, but that's neither here nor there. But it doesn't matter. Like, the evil in this just permeates out of this, and it's just powerful and really, really well done. And as far as the performances go, Micah Monroe is incredible. I've said this since It Follows, watch her. Like, she is just a phenomenal actress. I can't get enough of watching her on screen. Everything she's in, she is very different and has a unique personality and style, and yet kills it every single time. And she's very strange in this, very, like I said, almost on the spectrum. The way she delivers lines, you can never really quite get a beat on her or who she exactly is, because she's kind of introverted and then not at the same time, and just, it's a very fresh way of performing this character, and it gives the entire movie a unique feel. And holy shit, Nicolas Cage. I keep saying this, I just said this in a video I just put out, I think last week, that Nicolas Cage is just an absolute chameleon. I mean, he's up there as one of the greatest chameleon actors we've ever seen. Like, and his performance in this is just unrecognizable. Like, you know it's him, but it's just like nothing you've ever seen him perform before, and a really unique and new and interesting horror icon. And I just think that's awesome. We don't get really new ones, especially ones that feel really different and unique, very often. And I think this one really is. I mean, I just think he is so iconic in this character. But there's some fantastic jump scares, ones that are quality ones, not just like a cat jumping out of a cupboard, but actual real quality creep out things that happen that make you just jarred, like to your core. There's a couple, two especially, that I can think of off the top of my head that just absolutely got me. And I watch so much horror, there's a lot of jump scares that get most people that don't get me, but I'm telling you, the ones in this are quality and well deserved. It gets gory. It's not an overly gory movie, as far as it's not constantly throughout the movie, but when it goes there, it is very gritty, dark, very bloody, gruesome grossness. I mean, there's a couple images that are gross as well as disturbing, and then a few that are really bloody and just, I mean, just make your skin crawl kind of stuff. But once again, please don't buy into the hype. I know everything I'm saying is probably getting you jacked up to see this, but I'm telling you, there's a really high chance this movie's going to be too slow for you, too weird for you, just too strange and off-putting, not scary enough for you. There's a lot of all of that I feel like if you go into this expecting it to be a certain kind of thing that's in your head, it's not going to be. You really got to let this movie just be what it's going to be, because I'm telling you, it's not like anything you've seen before. And that is a refreshing, amazing thing, but that is only if you go into this with your expectations just being at, let me get an experience. Let me just experience a movie and see what happens. And I know that's really hard to do, practically impossible in this world. But I think if you could do that and just be patient with this movie and go along for the ride, it's a hell of a ride. It really is. So are people overblowing it? No, I don't think so at all. I think it really is as good as those people are saying. But those are people that this movie registers with. Those are people that enjoy slow burn, methodical, artsy, creepy, weird, and uncomfortably strange movies, like myself. If you're not someone that generally likes a lot of the slower burn art house movies, you might not like this. If you've seen Blackcoat's Daughter Osborne's other movie and you really liked that one, you're gonna probably like this. It's a similar kind of cold, like emotionless vibe on top of feeling similar as far as slow burn pacing. But there's a lot more that does happen in this, and it does get a lot stranger than that movie, and it's definitely a different movie. It just has, you know, similar enough things style-wise that I think if you enjoyed that, you're gonna probably dig this one. And before I finish this up, one of my favorite things about this movie, something that I don't normally talk about, don't even really think about, was the sound design. Because when sound design is done really well, a lot of times it just kind of disappears and just becomes a part of the overall experience of a movie. Then there are times when it stands out for the wrong reasons, because it's just not that great and takes you out of the movie, and so that's why you notice it. Then there's other times like this, where it's so good that it adds to the vibe in every way, but on top of that, it is so good you can't help but notice it at times. I mean, there are a few things in the sound-wise, I'm not even sure what they used or how they did it, but it felt so real and just really put me in this moment. It was really impressive. So to the team that did the sound on this, seriously, big kudos, thumbs up to you guys. That was amazing. It's amazing. I'm also just so excited to go to a theater like I did last night, and at the same time, in one main theater that's in my town, right? There's Maxine playing, there was A Quiet Place Day 1, and now Longlegs. All three playing at the exact same time. I mean, on the main screens right next to Inside Out 2, and it's just a great time to be a horror fan. I can tell you that much. Unfortunately, I think a lot of horror fans ruin movies for themselves because they expect something that they create in their brain instead of just going and enjoying what it actually is. But I love the look of this movie as well. It takes place in the 90s sometime, and it has this real kind of old vintage feel, but artistically done, but not so much that it takes you away from the movie, which is really cool to see as well. And the cinematography is beautiful. I mean, some of these shots there's a couple lighting and B-roll shots that are just breathtaking, on top of things that just are so eerie. The way dark is used, the ways blacks are used in this, just puts you on edge and just keep you in this state of uneasiness pretty much this whole movie. So yeah, if you just go into this and let it be what it's going to be and not what you want it to be or what you think it's going to be or any of that, just embrace it for what it is, for good, bad, whatever. I think you'll have a good time with it. Either way, I love this movie, and it's one that I highly recommend getting out to a theater and checking out.
Do you still say your prayers? Number ones. They scared me.
But that's gonna do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you guys would like to help support this channel for Patreon, there's a link down in the description, or to become a channel member, there's a button down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about Maxine, and I'll see you guys next time.